Alright, what's up guys? This video will be a shift towards the topic of personal growth and development, specifically on how to cultivate a more consistent emotional baseline of happiness, peace, and serenity by tackling your negative emotions and over the long term, healing emotionally. So I'll give you the most powerful technique that I've discovered over the last 3 to 4 years of research, and it's pretty simple as well. So when I was about 8 to 10, I got the idea in my mind, I'm not sure where, but I thought that if I was sad or had negative emotions, that I could eat ice cream and watch TV and movies, and basically I used distraction as a coping mechanism for my pain and repression until I used that for about a decade, until it started bottling up all this crap. And I started to get really bad anxiety when I was 19 till about 22 or 23. And over the last 3 years, with this technique, it's slowly gotten better to where the last year, anxiety has rarely been a factor in my life anymore. So, this technique, what you'll do is you'll find a quiet place where you can be alone. I usually sit on my bed before I go to sleep. But you can do this whenever you like and for however long you like, but for about 5, 10, 20 minutes, however long you feel like. What you'll do is basically, instead of distracting or repressing your negative emotions, you'll confront them and embrace them as if you enjoy them, which of course we don't. But you'll be amazed at how well this technique works if you do it consistently for just a couple weeks or so. You'll start to notice. So what you do is, basically, you have 5 external senses, sight, hearing, touch, etc., and 2 internal senses, which is internal dialogue and internal imagery. So, for this technique, you're going to focus on the sense of touch. Basically, you're going to put your awareness on your body, because typically emotions have a physical component to them. And if you can, try to find where the physical component of the emotion is. Typically for me, it's a pressure or an ache in my chest or a lump in my throat. But if it's too subtle for you, just put your awareness on your body in general. And then also put your focus and awareness on the internal dialogue and internal images, the psychological aspect of the emotion, and you sit there in presence with the negative emotion, the pain, the anxiety, or whatever. And if you have a tough time with this, just start by tackling smaller negative emotions. Like, let's say you had a recent experience that was negative, or someone was being a jerk, or passive aggressive, or called you a name, until you start to gain more confidence in doing this and more traction, to where you want to come around to bringing up your worst traumas and your worst memories and your most painful memories, because that's where you're going to find the most growth and the highest degree of change in your average daily emotional baseline. So by doing this, it works through all the emotional baggage you have, and it'll release those negative emotions and pain that you've stored up within yourself. Now, no matter if you have a happy life, I mean, this will help anyone. There's always growth and improvement to be had. Internally and stuff. There's always more to go. There's people that have been doing this for 10, 20 years, and they still have room for growth, personally. So I'm going to give you a few tips here, and to kind of guide you and help you a little bit. So usually, when you're putting awareness on your negative thoughts and stuff like that, they'll tend to suck you into a story or a narrative of woe, and hardship. But whenever you notice yourself getting sucked in by your thoughts, just try to step back and become more of an impartial observer. Just observe and try not to get sucked in to the thoughts, And if you notice this happening, don't beat yourself up. Just remember to, like I said, take a step back and just observe and be present. And I mean, I still get sucked in from time to time as well, and I've been doing this for 3 years. So, and then another tip is whenever, let's say, you have a negative interpersonal interaction or with somebody, and let's say, like I said, they're being a jerk, or they called you a name, or they're being passive-aggressive, or you know, they basically, it's usually more about them than it is about you. So try not to take it personally. Keep that in mind. That's basically the tip, is try not to take things too personally, because they're the one that are expressing these things with their you know, with their words, and it's coming from their mind and their thoughts. So they're the one expressing this stuff. So I'd say probably about half the time, especially with negative interactions, it's more about them, and they may be having a bad day, or they may cope with things by not accepting responsibility for their emotions and try to blame you for their anger or their pain. And also, if you've noticed, some of the people that say, "Oh, I hate drama," or you know, "You're so dramatic," or whatever, these people tend to be the biggest drama queens and the most dramatic people. If you've ever noticed that, it's kind of funny. But don't use this. Try not to use this as a tool to wield against people, because you're just going to create more negativity. So, but just Google projection. It's a very common psychological phenomenon, and this will help you understand the mechanics of this more. So Google projection. So just remember not to take these interactions too personally. And this can happen with strangers, acquaintances, family, and friends. I mean, just almost anyone. And then also, the last tip is basically notice how you talk to yourself. You may think, "Oh, this is not necessary. I know my thoughts and I know how I talk to myself." But seriously, if you do this, and you commit to this technique for any length of time, you'll start to be amazed at how little awareness of your thoughts that you had. Even though we all have, some awareness of how we think and what we think, but it can be incredibly deep as to how much awareness of yourself you can have. So there's always more to go, like I said. So as you start to become more aware of how you talk to yourself, you'll start to notice patterns and negative beliefs that you have about yourself. And basically, with these negative beliefs and negative thought patterns that you have, just remember not to take your thoughts too seriously, because your thoughts are a very small component of who you are and your experience in life. So try not to take them too seriously, because we all have false beliefs and maybe self-fulfilling prophecies in our beliefs about ourselves, especially within the negative beliefs. So if you notice as you go on, you have certain negative beliefs about yourself, you're going to want to, if you want to take an extra step over just the awareness, you can start to question these beliefs and imagine the belief as a table and the support for it as the legs of the table. Now let's say you think, like I used to believe that I had anxiety, which I did, but I used to believe that anxiety was just going to be a part of my life and I was just going to have to deal with it forever, but that turned out to be false. Or let's say you believe that you're lazy or underweight, overweight, or whatever. These are all things that you certainly can change about yourself. However, you may, let's say you've been lazy your whole life or for a few years or whatever. That may be true to some degree, but laziness is just a factor of motivation. And if try to find ways in which to contradict that belief. Say, oh, I just worked my butt off doing this, or, I just did this, or this doesn't have to be a permanent thing. This can change, so I don't want this to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So try to find little ways in which to contradict these beliefs, and you'll start to gain traction and shake these negative thoughts and beliefs, and that's gonna create some growth for you, both in your habits and also in your emotions and stuff like that. So basically, psychologically, behaviorally, and with your habits, these are the areas in which that are the most flexible for change within yourself. So, so don't always take these thoughts and negative beliefs too seriously, and just try to find ways in which to undercut them and to open up to the fact that these can be changed. So that's basically the gist of all this. So I think that's about it, guys. So I hope this helps you guys, and it certainly helped me and about 4 other people that I know that actually committed to this practice. And so everyone I know of me plus the 4 people, this technique has worked for all of them. And then so yeah, hope this helps you, and thanks for tuning in.